We're rolling.
Okay.
John, hey, thank you for coming back. And these are my students. I think you know my class from beginning photography to exhibiting artists. This is their 4th session.
Yeah.
In whatever, 6 more sessions or 7 more, they're going to be here.
Okay.
And most of them are complete beginners. Some have never taken a picture before. And you obviously have taken pictures before. Why don't you just give us a summary of this, and maybe they can ask you some questions.
Well, this exhibit is called On the Road, and basically in putting together this exhibit, I just went through all the photographs I've been taking over the last, I don't know, like 15, 20 years, and just assembled some photographs that but basically pictures that I took just on the side of the road. Because about 2 or 3 times a year I do road trips, go out west or wherever. And I noticed that a lot of photographs basically are just right off the road. You just drive by them and there they are. And so I just put together a selection of photographs that I've taken over several road trips, basically of interesting things that are just on the side of the road.
Okay, but they're not just straight photographs. You've done infrared, is it?
Yeah, some of them are infrared. I have a digitally modified Canon camera.
Why don't you explain what that means?
An infrared modified digital camera. All digital cameras, the sensors are inherently sensitive to infrared light. So if you take a color picture with it, the infrared light messes up the color. It makes it too red. So manufacturers put infrared blocking filters over the sensor so it filters out infrared light. So there are several places where you can send your camera where they'll open up the camera and take the infrared blocking filter off. And they'll put a visible light blocking filter on the sensor. So the sensor is only sensitive to long wavelength red light and infrared. And it's a dedicated camera for infrared.
And that's what gives you the leaves of the trees?
Yeah, because foliage reflects a lot of infrared, so foliage tends to come out light and slightly bluish. And sky and water don't reflect much infrared, so they tend to come out yellow or dark brown, or actually sometimes black.
Got it. It's a great effect. I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen this for a million years. There was capability to do this with film for a long time. You could buy infrared film. But obviously working with digital, this gives a completely different realm. As I recall, Sony or Fuji made a...
Yeah, Fuji made a camera that was originally designed for medical and scientific use that was sensitive to ultraviolet, visible light, and infrared. And they wouldn't sell it in the United States, but you could buy it through B&H. B&H imported it from Fuji in Japan. But many cameras, many digital cameras can be modified for. You just have to send it to a place, and the guy goes in, he opens up the camera, and takes the thing out, and then puts the camera back together. Hopefully it goes back together. But a lot of times I'll be in a place and I'll take color shots and I'll take infrared, and a lot of times I like the infrared better. It's really good for bringing out textured foliage, really good for bringing out clouds in the sky.
Now, as I see it, most of these are infrared, am I correct? Or?
These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these 5 are infrared. The one on the other side, there's 3 black and white pictures. One of them is infrared that I just knocked it down to black and white. And then the rest of these are color. So I shoot color and infrared as well. And sometimes it's confusing to figure out whether or not to shoot the scene in color or infrared.
Anything that you can go by toward making that happen, or you just wind up doing both?
Yeah, you just try it. Just take the shot and take a look at it. Sometimes infrared just doesn't work. Sometimes just too much infrared light and foliage just comes out like snow, and I don't like that effect. Other times, if I don't know if the sunlight is sort of filtered, or if it's just not, it's less sunny, then it looks better.
Got it. So. Okay. Anybody with a question?
Are you toning the prints, or
the color comes out like that because even though you're shooting in infrared, the camera still thinks it's color. So you have the red, blue, and green layers of the color shot, and you get sort of a false color effect because of the differing effect effect, a different response for the red, blue, and green photo sites. And it will vary depending on how you do the raw processing. So if you do it one way, it comes out sort of reddish. If you do it another way, it can sort of come out like yellow and blue. And then you can always tone it down. You can decrease the saturation if it's like, too yellow or too blue. It's different than shooting an infrared, black and white infrared film, because then it's strictly black and white, where this is actually colorful. And a lot of times you get weird effects because, like black cloth, like if I took an infrared picture of my pants, black pants like that, they'd come out light because black cloth reflects a lot of infrared. And sometimes stones come out like brighter than what you think. And you get subtle color effects, which I like.
Do you use a tripod?
I use a tripod much less frequently than I used to. Mostly just the pain in the ass to use. I'll use a tripod if I know I have to use a long exposure. But a lot of stuff, most of these were shot handheld. I don't think any of these were shot with a tripod. This was shot with a tripod. Sometimes it's easier with a tripod because you can just set the thing up and just sort of compose it, and you don't have to try to hold it like that. But most of the time I shoot handheld. I do that mostly now because of digital, because you have variable ISOs. You can crank the ISO to 200 or 400, and you still get good results. And also because the lenses that I have image stabilization built in. So sometimes I can shoot at a slower shutter speed and it still comes out sharp. Whereas when I was shooting film, I was always shooting ISO 100. And I was shooting with larger format cameras, like medium format cameras, and those are hard to handle. So most of the time, at that time when I was shooting film, I put it on the tripod.
Do you shoot for digital, do you shoot in RAW or do you shoot in just regular JPEGs?
Raw. Yeah, because then you have the most flexibility. JPEGs, it's sort of everything's built in. And you go to change it or something like that, it starts tearing the file apart.
You might have said this because I was over there. But is this one road trip you took?
No, this was taken over a period of years. Yeah.
Really beautiful.
Yeah.
But did you?
So this was like last year, and then the Volkswagen's the oldest one that was taken.
Yeah, I like that one.
About 7 or 8 years ago.
Was that bigger? Was it panoramic? Like, was there more? Sorry.
That was basically just the landscape like that, and then the car was there. I shot that with a film. This is the only one on film with a panoramic camera. Behind me was a motel and a restaurant.
That's so neat.
And now today, where that Volkswagen is more motel rooms. Built, yeah.
The landscape has changed.
That's classic. It's forever.
Yeah. So, and somebody just parked their Volkswagen right there. Yeah.
In the most perfect spot ever.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming to the exhibit.